delighted to welcome Martin Reid from the Gin Cooperative to the Business Spotlight this afternoon. Welcome, Martin. Thanks for taking part.
Thanks for the invite, Brenda. It's much appreciated. I look forward to talking over a wee bit about the Gin Cooperative and about what we do and how we got here.
Well, so my eyes prick up when I say, "Oh, the Gin Cooperative." Yeah, tell us what you do. For I'm quite partial to a gin, so tell us what the Gin Cooperative's all about.
I think, like most businesses, it started off as it was something we were passionate about. We'd been gin drinkers for a number of years. I'd actually been introduced to gin through my father-in-law. Whether you liked gin or not, whenever you visited, you would get a gin and tonic. So that was probably 2004. So between 2004 and 2014, me and my wife, gin became our kind of go-to tipple. And it was when we were on holiday in New York, we were sitting in this nice bar, and they had 3 or 4 Scottish gins behind the bar. And we thought it was really amazing that, we're sitting in a nice bar, middle of New York, and they've got Scottish gins behind the bar. And we kind of, a bit of a pipe dream, I guess. We talked about, it'd be fantastic if there was a resource for people visiting different countries, if you could if you knew what distilleries were in the area, which gins they produced. Do they provide distillery tours or experiences? And from there, it was kind of like we came back to reality. We came back to our day-to-day jobs. My wife was oil and gas. I was running my own graphic design studio at the time. And we never really thought much more about it. And then 2017, Natalie came to a crossroads in her career, 15 years oil and gas. And we just we were talking one day, and we just thought, it'd be great if there was something for Scottish gin, and especially as over the previous 5 or 6 years, we saw more and more Scottish gins coming to the market. They all had really interesting stories to tell, fantastic products. And we thought it'd be great if there was a consumer resource where people could go on and learn the story of Scottish gin. So perhaps a directory that had an A to Z of Scottish gin, some editorial features, engaging content that wasn't necessarily sales-led, but educated the consumer. We decided December 2017, my wife and I took some of our life savings. We spoke to a few gin makers at the time to see, was there value? Was there a business model here? And we spent the first 4 months of 2018 doing our due diligence where Scottish gins were being made, because at the time there were perhaps a few Scottish gins that claimed to be Scottish gins, although they weren't technically being made in Scotland.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which, the gin makers make their gins in different parts of Britain for whatever reason, but we just felt that the term Scottish gin should mean a product that's produced in Scotland. Scottish gin should be made in Scotland. It should have that provenance. It should have that. Scotland Food and Drink has got a fantastic reputation around the world. It's in high demand. So I think there's a lot of brand and business value to having that term Scottish in your name or in your product name. So we just felt there was an opportunity to work with Scottish producers that weren't making their gins in Scotland. So we launched our website April 2018. It was launched as a membership-based business. So Scotland's gin producer paid an annual fee for that. They had an upgraded profile in A to Z. We would invite them to take part in editorial features, which to make it clear, the editorial was led by us. So they had sort of, besides answering the questions, they didn't have any commercial say over what was said about their brands. So it wasn't like advertorial, or it wasn't brand led. So, everything remained impartial, so there was no sort of blurring of the boundaries between what is an advertorial and what is a genuine editorial. Everything, we had final say in everything. So although it was a commercial business that had a membership, we led it all. And from there, the business kind of, grew, the membership grew. We had about 90 producers as members. So that was everyone from large multinational global brands to small brands making it literally in their back garden in their distillery. And from there, we just built our reputation as being a premium resource for Scottish gin.
Fantastic. So yeah, you're providing a service to the consumer and the
producers as well. Yeah, and one thing whenever, I guess whenever, you know, I think most businesses start off with a business plan and you follow it to the T. But I often think, you know, sometimes things just grow organically. I think sometimes things can flourish almost, and I think sometimes that's how many great businesses do grow and prosper. So, I mean, within our first year of business, we saw an opportunity to create a day that celebrated Scottish gin. So in 2018, we trademarked International Scottish Gin Day, which we set out to, you know, it was created as a day where Scotland's gin producers could collaborate with bars and the on-trade, off-trade and retail, collaborate with the gin community. So really it was a day for Scotland's gin makers to take advantage of, use it as they wish to promote their brands and tell their stories. So we established that in 2018. We launched the first International Scottish Gin Day in August 2019. And off the back of that, we managed to get a number of gin brands sent out across the world. So for example, Atlas Bar in Singapore, which is one of the world's best known gin bars, took a number of gins and did an International Scottish Gin Day tasting menu for the day. There was Whitechapel in San Francisco. They took a number of Scottish gins over. So, you know, it really gave us an opportunity as a business ourselves to get brands out there and make a lot of really good contacts. And for example, one bar was Gin Palace in Melbourne. It took on a number of gins. And thanks to that introduction and their importers, we actually ended up collaborating with a gin brand, and they actually ended up getting their gin into Australia through this collaboration that we set up. So there was a lot of commercial value to it, but from a consumer side, it was all about showcasing Scottish gin, helping gin makers tell their story. So that was 2019, and from then on, there's been an International Scottish Gin Day every year. From there, you know, obviously I work with my wife, Natalie. She's a co-founder of the business. I guess when sort of COVID and lockdowns and things like that happened, we were well placed where we'd already been working together for 3 years as a home-based business. I mean, literally my wife sits 2 feet over there on the other side of the desk. So I think compared to a lot of businesses, we were well, especially family businesses, we were well versed of working 14 hours a day next to each other, you know.
Well done. My husband lasted 2 weeks in the same office as me. So he's still my husband. I didn't mean that he didn't last, but we couldn't work together.
Well, I think lockdown was a test of many business relationships, whether it was marriages or whether it was business partnerships. So yeah, I think if you manage to make it the other side relatively unscathed, it's a positive.
So I guess COVID must have been a difficult time for the producers, and you know, did what you were doing for the producers, did that change? How did COVID affect what was, and lockdown affect what you were doing in business?
It did change, because a big part of our membership was that we would go out and visit distillers. We'd take photography. You know, a lot of the original photography we shoot using our editorial features. So, you know, leading up to COVID, we built up a massive bank of photography and video footage and content that we could drip feed. But because of COVID, obviously, we weren't allowed to go anywhere, we weren't allowed to visit anybody. So we quickly adapted to doing a number of Facebook Live events with gin producers. So we invited the members we worked with to take part in a live Q&A on Facebook. So we were doing at least one of those, if not once a week, once every 2 weeks. So I think over the first lockdown we did about 30 Facebook Live interviews. So for that, we had to buy a new tech, we had to adapt it, we had to, you know, not only schedule interviews, but also, you know, do the Q&As, record the videos, and then, you know, not only was it live, so there was a lot of pressure there, but once the videos were recorded, we then had to do post-production, and then we had to upload them to our YouTube channel. So that was probably the biggest aspect we embraced, was online technology and doing video content, especially live stuff, you know. So as well as that, I mean, we kept up our regular editorial schedule. And because we had built up a bank of video footage and a bank of photography, we were in a really good place for just creating content, you know, every week. So yeah, I mean, in terms of how it affected the producers, there was a lot of brands that had invested in their distillery experiences, you know, visitors experiences. I know, for example, there was a big gin experience created at a distillery in Edinburgh, and literally the week it launched, COVID happened, we went into lockdown. So, you know, the previous plan that they'd had for the previous 18 months, all that investment basically went out the door, and they had to start from scratch after lockdown was finished, you know. But I think in a way as well, I think COVID was a positive for a lot of businesses, that it forced them to embrace digital technology. There was a number of gin brands that didn't have e-commerce platforms, so there was a lot of gin brands developed really strong online presence through their e-commerce. So I think, like most businesses and most industries, most people just had to adapt and evolve relatively quickly to keep their business going, you know.
Yeah, so what, I mean, are you still doing that? You know, the video content, is that something that's continued as we've come out of that again?
It has, yes and no. I mean, you know, because we came out of lockdown, we've been able to go back and visit distillers. We've managed to go and keep up our photography efforts. And, you know, one thing we did do that we had was that there was a number of affiliate links in our website. So when people visited the A to Z of Scottish Gin, if they wanted to buy it, it would either link through directly to the gin maker's website, or it would link through to a third-party retailer. And one thing we realized was that we're sending a lot of traffic from our website, which was set up to be an educational resource, to these third-party retailer websites, and a lot of them, the story of the brands and the products sort of fell flat. You know, they maybe had a tiny description, they had pretty poor photography, the brand experience was almost diminished. So, you know, we put a lot of effort in our A to Z of Scottish Gin, where the brands have got their logo, they've got their story, there's a lot of detail about the products, and suddenly we're sending a lot of traffic to these third-party retailers. And we thought, is there an opportunity for us here to create an online e-commerce platform for ourselves that isn't necessarily absolutely sales-led, as crazy as that might sound, to have an e-commerce platform that isn't sales-led, but we saw a massive opportunity to create an educational resource through an e-commerce platform. So in, I think it was 2021 December, we launched our own e-commerce platform as part of the Gin Cooperative. So we adapted that. Where we can, we buy direct from the producers. You know, certain brands will advise us, well, we'd rather you just go through our official wholesaler, which we do, but where we can, we want it to work directly with the brands and the producers, so they benefit directly. And it, once again, it just helps us build a really strong working relationship. In 2023 February, well, 2022, we actually acquired scottishgin.com as a domain name, which we sat on for a year and a bit, and we didn't want to rush to do anything with it. But in 2023 February, we launched scottishgin.com, which is our e-commerce platform now. So we transitioned from the Gin Cooperative as having an e-commerce store on it across the scottishgin.com, and it's been live since February 2023. So I mean, it was a 5-figure investment to get that built and developed, and we worked with a really great design agency in Glasgow, D8, and you know, we gave them free rein for how it looked and how it worked. And coming from a graphic design background, it was quite a tough thing to hand over ownership of the design and the visuals and the looks, but they did a fantastic job with it, and we're really pleased with what they created. So in 2022, we also launched the Gin Cooperative Awards. So we'd taken part in various gin competitions as gin judges before, and everyone says, oh, it must be a fantastic job being a gin judge, and it's a privilege. But one thing we always saw and understood was the fact that we're judging someone's hard work here. You know, this is literally someone's baby. It's like a beauty contest sometimes. And from our experience as a gin judging, we saw where some competitions got it really right. We saw where some gin competitions could have been doing better. And one thing we always found about the competition side of gin was the fact that, you know, gin is often just judged neat. And, you know, for the brands to get an award for their packaging, there's often an extra additional cost. So what we did is we set out to create a gin awards for Scottish gin that looked at the gin neat, the gin as a gin and tonic, and how the packaging looked, and combined all those scores. And for our judging panel as well, we've created it's the first of its kind that we know of, where the judging panel is balanced of consumers, industry, and community. So consumers are people that, you know, it's regular customers that come through our shop, but it's people we see online that are passionate about gin as consumers. Industry is gin and food and drink journalists, bartenders, hospitality owners. So it's real industry focused. And community is bloggers, people that write about gin, people that have got really strong social media profiles that are passionate about gin. So, you know, each gin in our competition is judged by 3 industry, 3 community judges, and what did I say, industry, community. I'm having a bit of a mind blank. Industry, community, and consumer. So it's a fair spread of judges across each product, you know. So yeah, we've got a few different brands under the gin cooperative right now, which is good, you know. So they all bring in different value commercially. They've all got their own brand identities. So yeah, it's really great, and I feel really lucky that through what we do, we've got to know a number of different gin brand owners. Many of them are family businesses, very much like ourselves. And I think as well, I think it shows in what they do, and I think it comes across in what we do, that I think in any business you've got to be passionate about what you do, and you've got to care. I think if you don't care about your business and you don't care what you do, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Because, you know, if you don't care, then why should your customers care? Why should your clients care? You know, I think you've got to be passionate and care about what you do, or else, you know, you're doing something wrong if you don't care about things.
I couldn't agree more. So, I mean, that's you've described how you got into it. You've described the journey that you've been on so far. What are your aspirations for the next 5 years, Martin?
I think the next 5 years, I think I'd quite like to see the shop continue to grow. I think that's an important aspect for us, you know, certainly having the domain scottishgin.com working. I mean, we've got one of the largest independent selections of Scottish gin online at the moment. Considering it's just myself and my wife in the business, it's just the 2 of us doing everything. You know, and I think there is, you know, I think we've kind of grown as the Scottish gin industry has grown. So when we started in 2017, I think there was 170 Scottish gins, and I think there was about 70 brands. So, and I think as of today, there's over 720 commercially available Scottish gins. Wow. And there's about 100 it's close to 200 brands. And in terms of distilleries producing Scottish gin right now, there's at least 100 distilleries all producing Scottish gin. So I think we're in a very fortunate place. I think gin has, you know, there's a saturated market for gin right now. I think over the last few years, there's been a lot of brands appeared that perhaps aren't invested in the term gin for the long term. So I think we will maybe see a plateau effect. I think no doubt, you know, we're already hearing there's a number of Scottish gins that are, you know, looking at the viability of their businesses, which is unfortunate. But, you know, I think for us personally as a business, we will continue to do whatever we can to promote Scottish gin, to support the producers, to be a positive voice for the industry. I'd like to see International Scottish Gin Day continue to grow year on year, which it has, to have more involvement from hospitality. It's a free day, there's no cost associated with it. So, you know, the gin producers, hospitality, on trade, off trade, consumers can all be involved and showcase their love of Scottish gin. So there's no cost for that.
When is it, Martin?
Well, there's no actual one event. So, you know, it's a day, it's a platform that, you know, bars, restaurants, gin makers can use to promote their products. So if they wanted to hold an event at their distillery, they can. If a bar wanted to put on a tasting menu, a Scottish gin tasting menu, it can. So there's no one physical venue for an event. So it's, you know,
what's the day?
the day is it's the first Saturday in October. It's the first Saturday in October every year, which I believe this year falls on, I think it's Saturday the 7th of October. If I just quickly check my calendar.
It's not in my diary now. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's a great platform. It's a day. I mean, there's another day, World Gin Day, that focuses on gins from around the world, but we just felt there was an opportunity for Scottish gin producers to have their own day to celebrate, you know, Scottish gin. So no, I'd like.
Can I just pause you just for a little minute?
Yeah.
There's somebody at my door. It's the guy who's been fixing my boiler. He's been out the back. I just need to go and speak to him, and then we'll cut this bit out and get cracking again.
Okay, cool. Hiya.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We just got our boiler fixed the other day as well. So
you don't want to have no hot water when you've got teenage daughters in the house, I tell you.
Yeah, we were a week without hot water and heat, and it was just a nightmare.
Well, even worse, you can't find a problem with it. It's running fine.
Sod's law.
Anyway, where were we? What were we?
Yeah, so the plan, the hopes and ambitions for the next 5 years, you know, International Scottish Gin Day will continue to grow year on year. And, you know, the commercials for that are that we've had a lot of support from businesses and supply chain. So there's sponsorship opportunities for that. There's sponsorship opportunities for our awards as well. So we're now going into year 2 of the awards. Last year, we were really fortunate that we had a really great judging panel that also included Sam Heughan, the actor from Outlander, the TV show. So we've got to know Sam a wee bit over the last few years, just through gin and a few other common things that we share. So we had him involved as a judge, you know, and when he announced that, I'm involved as judging, you know, our website actually crashed, you know. Unfortunately, our website was down for a couple of minutes just because of the number of traffic. So we really look forward to, you know, we're still launching awards for this year. You know, with a fantastic response from the industry in general last year about our judging process, about, you know, how balanced it was. One thing we did was we said that we wouldn't have any gin distillers as judges because we felt there might be an unfair advantage there where a gin distiller perhaps either knows that their friends' gins taste like, or perhaps they know what the gins of people they perhaps don't like taste. So we just felt for our competition anyway, it would be fairer just to have no gin distillers involved as judges. So we're just about to launch our 2023 awards. So we're hoping for a good response for that. We've increased the size of our judging panel. So that is something else we hope continues to grow year on year. And I think myself and Natalie, you know, we've been very fortunate that not only have we got to know a number of different brands and the owners and the people in the industry, one of the surprising upsides has actually been getting to know other people in the gin community. So bloggers, commentators, people that are passionate about gin. So there's a real genuine community of people out there that love gin, that talk about gin, that support gin brands. And it's been an upside for us actually developing a number of friendships and relationships with people that we didn't expect to happen. So, you know, I think as long as you know, Scottish gin's in a fortunate position that, you know, Scotland Food and Drink is in demand. There's a number of whiskey distilleries producing gin now, which we believe they wouldn't be getting the backing of their shareholders and backing of the brands to go and create a Scottish gin if there wasn't a long life in Scottish gin. So yeah, we're very optimistic about what the future holds. There's no two doubts that certainly consumer goods, there's a cost of living crisis. I think people are definitely weighing up luxury items, what they can afford and what they can't afford. And, you know, a lot of Scottish gin is probably seen as a premium product, it's a luxury item. But from our point of view, all we can do is continue to tell the stories of the brands and showcase why people should be buying local, supporting Scottish gin where they can. And yeah, we're very optimistic about what the future holds. So
great, yeah. I can see no reason why you shouldn't be. So it's a great service you're providing for both ends. So if you could go back and give your advice to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to wee Martin there?
I would say don't take things too personally and don't get hung up on the small things. You know, I think previously I would maybe take things to heart, or I would maybe replay things over and over, but you know, it's one of those things, whether it's an age thing or a maturity thing or just learning in business, that you can't change things that have happened in the past. All you can do is try and focus on the future and learn from any mistakes you've made. And I've always been a strong believer in business where if something does go wrong or you do make a mistake, you hold your hand up, you take responsibility for it, and you reassure your clients, whether that is, you know, or whatever service you're providing, you reassure your business, the people you work with or your clients that, you know, you've learned from that mistake and you'll develop and grow from that mistake. You know, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've had to learn, is to just not get too hung up on things. But I do think on the flip side, you've got to care, you've got to be passionate, you've got to, you do have to take responsibility when things don't always go right. So yeah, it's probably the biggest lesson is don't get too hung up on things.
Fantastic. And you know, you've really demonstrated your passion for your gin and for the industry and for doing your best to support your industry. So I could talk to you all day, Martin, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So just thank you very much for being on the Business Spotlight today. And you've given a good pitch on the websites that anybody listening to look out for. So I'm sure everybody who's interested will be right on there. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for the opportunity to come on and chat today. It's been a privilege. So thank you very much.
An absolute pleasure.